Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the peak-to-peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
There's thunder at the gate, 'cause like a long time had passed. Rabbit in the grass, running from the plow. We were younger then.
The song that you are currently listening to is called Where the Willow Never Weeps. It's a song from Brandy Wine and the Mighty Fines, and it's out wherever you get your music. To learn more about Brandy Wine and the Mighty Fines as a group, be sure to head to their website at themightyfines.com. Joshua Ray and Matthew Earle will be performing in a duo capacity and as their own solo acts more in the very near future. So be sure to head to Matthew's website, MatthewEarleMusic.com, or follow one or both of the musicians on Instagram at Matthew Earle Music or at joshua.grant.ray to keep an eye on when they'll be performing next.
So hold me out, cross a great divide.
Hello there, everybody! My name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome to Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. I promised I would have this episode out a week ago. But at this point, I am not making an additional Music of the Mountains episode for this week's issue of the Mountaineer, because this week's Music of the Mountains column in the Mountaineer is focused on one particular historical moment, not on an interview of a local musician. If you want to read that column, which is about how bluegrass as we know it got started in the first place, then be sure to head to the mtnear.com today and read it for yourself. But that means with the release of this episode, finally, after goodness knows how long, I am caught up on all of the episodes of the podcast. I'm going to take a little bit of a breather and then hopefully come back with a couple more Music of the Mountains episodes throughout June, and hopefully some mountain folk tales as well. And of course, regular segments from our correspondent, Marianne Rosen. Before we get into today's interview, though, it's time for our preliminary announcements. You can head to the mtnear.com to read my article and plenty of other digital articles, especially from this week's paper, but you can also head to the website to subscribe to the paper. Click on the subscribe button in the top right corner of the home page, and if you subscribe, you'll get full access to our digital archive and scanned copies of the physical newspaper. And you can even choose to send a physical subscription to your mailbox or to the mailbox of someone that you love. If you're interested in getting involved in the newspaper and or the podcast in any way, shape, or form, including advertising, then be sure to email info@themountaineer.com to contact our editor-in-chief, Barbara Hart, or media@themountaineer.com to contact myself. If you're interested in getting advertising into the paper, then be sure to head to the mtnear.com/advertise to learn what options are available. We have a new system for getting events promoted in the Mountaineer newspaper and on the Mountaineer website. If you're interested in getting a free event promoted at your venue, then head to the mtnear event link.creativecirclemedia.com to add an event to our website and the paper. If your event costs money, submitting the event will cost an additional $10. If you have any questions, be sure to email frontdesk@themountaineer.com. And if you want to head directly to the submission form, then it will be linked from now on in any individual episode description of our podcast. And finally, our regular promotional announcements, brought to you by the Mountaineer.
Looking for a unique advertising opportunity? The Mountaineer podcast may be a perfect fit for you. Our podcast reaches local listeners at least 3 days each week. We can create your podcast commercial for you, or you can submit your own. Contact Amanda McDonald for additional information. Her email is adsales@themountaineer.com, and her cell is 720-960-2900. Have you checked out the Mountaineer YouTube lately? We are very excited to have a videographer intern this spring, as well as Clementine Miller, who's been working hard to record some of our local events and meetings to share with you. Go check it out on the Mountaineer YouTube. Have you seen our 2024 Peak to Peak Visitors Guide? We have just launched our 2025 Media Kit for the next guide. Go to our website and click on Advertise to see the full Media Kit there. Spring is springing, and we all know that means the flowers will be popping out all over the place, reminding us of beautiful art. That also means it's time to start thinking about the 2025 studio tour. Go to our website and click on special sections to view the 2024 guide and prepare yourself for this year's edition.
All right, now finally it's time to get into last week's and this week's Music of the Mountains. Our guests this time around, do you mind introducing yourselves real quick?
Sure. Matthew,
Sure thing. Go ahead,
brother.
Josh.
I'd love to hear your story.
All right.
Oh, here we go. Typical Virgo.
We'll roll right into it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matthew. You take off, bro.
All right, we'll do one Virgo first and then second Virgo, and we'll be on a roll. So, yeah, my name's Matthew Earle, Boulder, Colorado, singer-songwriter, and yeah, just getting into this whole scene here and enjoy making some music with my buddy Joshua.
Yeah, and I'm Joshua Brent Ray. Been in Boulder for about 10 years now, playing music with lots of fun friends, including my buddy Matthew here, playing a few different local bands, Brandy and the Mighty Fines, Mighty Holler, and starting to do a lot of like solo singer-songwriter stuff, and couldn't be happier to be collaborating and doing shows with people that I really respect like Matthew. So super pleased to be here.
Just as a warning, Matthew's call kept cutting in and out throughout the course of this interview in terms of volume. So in a couple of cases, I have had to jack up the volume a little bit to make sure that Matthew can be heard. This interview was originally conducted on May 20th, 2025. And it was originally recorded to promote a show that is now over. You guys performed at the Gold Hill General Store on Thursday, May 29th. So individually and in a group context, how did you guys start performing music in the first place?
Josh, we'll trade off, so you can go first this time, right?
All right, cool. So I grew up in a really small town in Bourbon, Missouri. Yeah, bourbon like the liquor. That's the reason I write country music, I guess. I just didn't know it at the time. And back in the day, I played a trumpet, played ska, as a young man. Played in bands all through high school and college and that kind of thing. I was always a little bit more of a bedroom guitar player. I've been playing for what I like to say is an embarrassingly long amount of time. And then kind of stepped away from music for a long time, focused on day job type of stuff. And then came back to music almost suddenly through some inspiration with some prior band members, picked up the guitar again, started playing music, and then signed up for a local ensemble class in Boulder through Harmony House Music. And that's where I kind of met Matthew. And then Matthew said, hey, we should do an open mic. So we went and did an open mic and got offered a gig. And at that moment, I was kind of terrified because I was like, I'm not ready for that. So kind of had to, put the time and work in and grind it out, writing songs, playing shows with multiple different local bands. And now stepping out there and doing some stuff solo and writing some music that I'm pretty proud of, and I'm really happy to be playing with other people. And yeah, here we are now playing shows up at the Gold Hill store. So gonna hopefully keep going.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, Matthew.
Yeah, man, every time I hear you tell that, I recollect that we both have a small town kind of rural background in common, which is probably what appeals to us both about a lot of the music we like and write and stuff. Because my background's similar in as much as I grew up in rural Louisiana. I have a lot of small town vibes and bling. Even though I've traveled all over the world, you can never get too far from your roots musically. Early growing up, I remember my grandfather taking me to dance hall, Cajun dance hall in Louisiana, where they play French music in the morning on a Saturday. Everyone was really lit by noon, which is kind of how it goes down there. So that kind of music had a big influence on me. Also a lot of country music. My dad was a farmer, and so there were a lot of hours that I was with him on a tractor listening to on the radio. That's kind of like the musical background, and I wasn't totally into all that stuff when I was younger. I loved Neil Young and music songwriter stuff. But all that kind of rolls up into a little bit of a traditional music background, at least Americana background. And as Josh mentioned, we met a few years back, a couple of years before COVID, I guess, in an ensemble class at Harmony House, which, we probably can't promote that community enough. So it's just a great place for musicians of all experience levels to meet. And yeah, I played with Josh in Brandy and the Mighty and we love to collaborate with those guys, even though it's a little bit kind of solo act where I get to collaborate with Josh as often as I want to, which is awesome.
And when did you guys first start performing together? How did you come together in your influences and really connect musically?
I think so. We kind of met at that first class, and one of the stories I like to tell is that Matthew brought a Grateful Dead song to one of our first classes as something that we were going to collaborate on and arrange together. And it was the song Touch of Grey. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe somebody brought this. It's like every single chord in the key. And I was like, I love him already.
And some chords some chords not in the key. Yeah. Some modulated.
Yeah, every chord not, everyone that's not in the key too. You know, that's how we play it at least, you know. But from then on, we've been having fun writing songs, playing songs with each other through the band background, open mics, etc. But we kind of always had kind of a natural, like, fun time playing together. We joked about having a band called Noodles and Company because we were so noodly and goofy. And finally we started kind of writing songs and doing these really neat things that we really respect about each other. And just in the last handful of months, you know, 6 months to a year, we kind of said, hey, maybe we should go start doing this stuff out. Why don't we go do some songwriter stuff together and share some of the fun? And I don't know, it's kind of just evolved from there, really.
Yeah, and the collaborating on different terms and being strictly in a band, where we have a certain repertoire in a band and a catalog that really defines the sound of that band. But when you take a step to the side and we're doing this separate project, we get to dive into some songs we ordinarily wouldn't do. You know, with our whole ensemble, when you say, Josh, we get to be, we can do a sad bastard thing and then we can goof around.
Yeah, 100%. We've always found those like little side pockets that we want to explore and goof off on. And now it's like, you know, since we're kind of focused on some of that solo stuff and kind of doing some of the things that we want to write, it's just that opportunity to kind of, hey, go do it. Let's play some stuff out. Let's throw out the stuff that we're passionate about, that we really enjoy. I love when Matthew sings and does the songs that he does, and he's always supportive of the stuff I do, so it's kind of fun to just go out there and play for people.
Yeah, and we get to dive into some topics, songwriter-wise, and some covers that we wouldn't do the full ensemble. For example, doing some of the classic country stuff or doing a real serious sort of thoughtful song about your small hometown. Things that don't always fit into a main stage kind of bluegrass Americana band where you want to keep the energy up. We get a chance to basically have a conversation and change the mood when we want, which is fun. And I think it gives the audience a chance too to just, like they've seen us play before, they see a little bit of a different side of the music.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
And what's been great for both of you guys about writing songs in general, but particularly in this duo context?
I did jump on that one. One thing for me particularly is this little project has given Josh and I both a chance to write some new songs, because anytime you start a new side project, either you've been sitting on ideas or you're just inspired because you're kind of embarking on something that doesn't have an imprint yet. So that's been cool. Also, particular to your question, is reinterpreting a few of the songs we have played before together in a duo situation is a lot of fun, but it's also challenging because I don't know, I won't speak for Josh, but for me, reimagining some of the songs we did with a full ensemble as a solo songwriter or as a duo, it gives you a chance to sort of reimagine the song, and that can be fun. It can also be challenging because you're like, oh, maybe it should be really different. And you have to resist the urge to rewrite history, but give yourself some space to be creative, to interpret things, you know, in a different, newer way.
Yeah, and I have a little bit of a parallel, a similar thing there in the fact that I'm a little bit of a late bloomer as a writer. I was a little bit more of a picker player, doing all the things that I need to do to support and work in the band and kind of find that chemistry. But in the last year, 2 years, kind of found some interesting tunes that they don't really fit the model of everything else that's going on. So for me, it's been kind of an opportunity to, again, reimagine some of the songs that I've written, find a different way of presenting things, tell stories in a different way. And it's just been a good opportunity to step into that and explore new territory. And working with Matthew is just super comfortable because we have that chemistry. We've worked together. We kind of know how to work off of each other in some unique ways. And yeah, it's just a chance to kind of share some different stories in a different way outside of what I do with bands on the weekends and things like that. A chance to sit down and tell stories, write songs, and put some time and slowness into that, which in the internet age isn't as common. Yeah, really love that as a chance to focus and reflect and relax a little bit.
Yeah, that probably scratches your Virgo itch. Josh and I
just
are
a little
both
bit.
Virgos.
Yeah.
And we're like, whereas in some groups you have people like really clash, Josh and I are at constant agreement as opposed to constant odds.
Yeah.
So that idea of like taking some time, being thoughtful, really thinking about your lyrics, thinking about the arrangement of the song, like we super indulge in that, I would say. And it's fun to like have a little project where that's valued.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. And it gives us a chance to share something that some of the bands that you go out and play with and you play festivals, etc. You get to play to the audience and the opportunity, and sometimes it's nice to just sit down and share a story, share a tale in an intimate setting, and just settle down a little bit and enjoy what you do. And I think me and Matthew always have leaned into that a little bit, coming from our story writing and songwriting kind of influence, where we really love that. So it's a fun place to just collaborate and dwell a little bit.
And I assume that's a big part of this project, is that it allows you to have more fun with the music, but also be able to go in a different direction when you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a time for a party. When people start to get a little rowdy and we want to throw out a very common country hit, there's a time and place for that, you know? You want people to raise their beers and get excited. But at the same time, it's kind of interesting to explore the emotion of, if you will, tears in your beer tune. And sit down and just be like, oh, you know, sometimes life's hard. It's okay to talk about that. And I think Matthew and I can find some space for both of that. We can find the fun tunes that reminisce and are stuff we heard on the radio as we were growing up and listening to country music and stuff like that. And then there's also the time to just sit down and talk about a hard aspect of small town living and reflect on that and just be a human. And I think that's important, especially as a songwriter.
Yeah, we have seen small audiences we've had before respond to both and with equal appreciation. You know, there's always just these folks at break or after the show will come up and be like, oh, what was that song? You know, you did that one. And that happens almost every gig. And it's never the same song, and it's never the song you thought was like the big one.
Exactly.
Unique little covers or some lyric that you wrote, people pick up on, and that's really cool when you have a small show and people listen and you entertain them, but at the same time you keep their interest in some lyric. That's really rewarding, and it creates such a great conversation with those folks too. We all are sort of in small places and small communities in some way. I think that connects with people.
And what have been some of your favorite parts about performing live in general? Have you preferred playing in this duo context, or in a band like Brandy Wine, or as a solo act? Are there pros and cons to any of them?
Oh, I'll let you lead that one.
Oh, yeah, man, sure. Yeah. Well, I don't know that I would prefer. I mean, I can say that as I book more solo gigs, it gives me a chance to really dig deeper into the sort of songs I want to do, whether they're originals or covers or whatnot. But I do miss being in a full-on band, and I think for any musician, the ultimate reward really is playing with other people. That is the most gratifying, because it's not just about you, it's about feeling and camaraderie. I mean, just seeing someone pick really well, put a smile on your face. So to be part of that is always fun. I do think for some introspective folks, as I would consider myself one, I enjoy the challenge of playing by myself, and it's challenging in a way that playing in a band isn't. I would say that just put me down, like, I do 50-50 right now. You know, I think both are great ways to grow as a musician, as a writer, and anyone who's doing this, I feel like those things in equal measure make you a well-rounded musician and a writer. I mean, it would be hard to say one or the other. I think they're both vital. One or the other is really preferred.
I kind of concur in the fact that there's an interesting vulnerability and challenge that you run into when you step out solo and you do something as a songwriter with just your guitar that is terrifying and gratifying, right? When it's just your song, your lyrics, the way you interpret it, or the way you interpret a cover, people will come up and be like, what was that song? And there's this moment of like reconciliation that you get, right? Where you get to say, this mattered to me and that's why I did it. And this is why I chose to do that song or write that way. That's really special and cool and very human. You get to connect with somebody at a very base level. And then there's also the joy of, hey, I played with this band and people were dancing and stomping their feet at this amazing Gold Hill store, Gold Hill Inn. Holy cow, people are falling on themselves. Insane. Like, wildest show I've ever been to type of thing. It's also like, you know, an adrenaline and a kind of endorphin rush. It's like really gratifying too, but at the same time, I think that part of a artist and being like, I want to write stuff, I want to tell stories, and I think that's important. I kind of found value in both, and I think that's what I've really loved about this project is that we can kind of go out and we can get a little honky-tonky, we can get a little rowdy if we want to, but at the same time, it's like just chilling out for a minute and telling some stories and having some beautiful moments. And to me, across the whole spectrum of writing and playing music, I found value in all of them. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty generic answer, I guess, but for me, that's kind of what matters, is having a balance of all of it.
And is there anything that you hope people will take away from your music and shows in general?
I mean, for me, I'll jump into this one, but I think the main thing for me is this: we're so privileged to be in such an amazing community of musicians and venues like Gold Hill Store, who's having us up to do this amazing songwriter night on a Thursday, to like the whole community across Boulder and Denver in general. That's a real blessing. Not everybody in the country has that opportunity, that network, that exposure, that availability, right? So for me, it's about, hey, I don't take it for granted. I hope that everyone can walk away from coming and seeing us play and be like, man, I'm so glad I was here. I get to take advantage of this amazing network of amazing musicians that are out there creating beautiful music, wonderful stories, and wonderful songs. And if I can be a strand braided into that, that's so much success for me, because it's a real privilege. We have an amazing network around us, and being a part of that and being able to share those stories and hopefully have somebody be like, that was beautiful, is just so rewarding. So for me, that's the biggest goal I have.
Yeah, and similar to Josh and I have been making music together for a while now, and for us, I'll generalize for both of us, but it's been a great growth experience playing in the area, playing on the Front Range, doing some little festivals. It's just been an awesome buddy experience that we've got to share with a bunch of other friends and musicians. And so that feeling when you're like at a festival for a weekend and you make all these new friends, and music is a bit of a conduit to friendship. So if anyone takes away anything from when Josh and I play, I think you'll see that we're just good buddies, and we have a backstory which we don't necessarily like advertise to everyone, but I think they'll get a sense that we appreciate one another, and we want to actually create a vibe and music where people in that room, they get a little piece of that community, and we all feel like we've known each other for a long time. I think any musician who can walk away from the show with a few friends and people that come up and pat you on the back and you play again, can't be much happier than that kind of outcome. It's a bit about the community Josh is talking about, and also sharing the community and expanding it. And places like the store or the FM, those are amazing places because there's also a long history of musicians coming there and meeting new people and the local people responding to that. Just like a long conversation you get to be a part of, which is super cool feeling, you know.
And Matthew, it was recently announced that you'll be transitioning out of Brandywine and the Mighty Finds in order to focus on your own solo performances. What's it been like transitioning out of that group, and what's it been like trying to embrace your own solo career?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I guess in a word you call it FOMO, right? Brandywine and Mighty Finds still booking shows, and as a co-creator, co-founder of the band with Josh, with Brandy, it's not easy to sort of take a step away from that. But for me, I'm sort of sacrificing that intense fun and feeling of being in an active band that's like really expanding its footprint of where we're playing. Last fall, the band went over to Europe to do a little run of shows in Germany, Czech Republic. And those opportunities as a band, it's hard to step aside when I would say like a band that you're in and you love and probably people music is one of that. But for me, I think my brain is a little slow, you know. I'm like looking for more. I like the sitting still aspect of creativity, and it's a little bit of a serving aspect of stepping out from the band to working on work. But sometimes it's just what you have to do, and I love these guys, and we still play as a group whenever we can. But I'd say, it's just a different kind of creative space. Sometimes as an artist, you look for.
I guess to kind of parallel a little bit with that, Brandywine and the Mighty Finds was kind of one of those interesting situations where it kind of happened before I feel like I was ready for that to happen. It kind of happened during the pandemic. It was a weird time in the world, and gigged a lot of gigs in parking lots, and the music scene was a whole mess. And we didn't really know what we were coming back to music. That wasn't something we thought about pursuing at any place in time. It was kind of random. But then we found some really cool energy and like some really cool writing and some really amazing stuff. Got the opportunities to go to Europe, got the opportunities to do all these amazing things. And as I've stepped into more and more projects and I've stepped into more and more things, I think for me, this opportunity and the ability to kind of step into this has been just a chance to say, what do you want to focus on? What do you also want to do? Who are you? You're a Mighty Fine, you're part of these other bands, you're this, that, and the other, but you're also this guy that likes to kind of write songs, and good or bad, they're kind of sad songs sometimes. How do you tell those stories that aren't necessarily comfortable? They don't necessarily fit in with a Friday night brewery. But at the same time, I think are good stories to tell. And so for me, it's just an expansion of what I can do, what we can engage with, and the kind of audiences that we can talk to. And Matthew, again, is just a tremendous partner in that, because I think we have a lot of synergy and ideas around, hey, let's tell stories, let's engage in that part of it. And so for me, this is a wonderful opportunity to continue to write songs, challenge myself, think about new ideas, and put myself out there and be risky and vulnerable. The vulnerability is unreal. When you're not used to being the front guy, it's like, holy cow, all of a sudden it's you and your guitar, and you got to figure a lot of things out. So I think that's been a huge motivator. But for me, yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm hoping to embody is that I love all the bands, all the projects, the music scene, everything that we have going. But it's just one more avenue to share stories and human connection. Because that's what keeps me really focused in on it.
And yeah, is there anything else in general about the duo or any other musical performances coming up that you want to add?
Matthew, I'll let you lead that, because you are leading the charge on this. Matthew Earle is getting stuff done.
Well, I just say I'll make a little plug too for some of our musician friends. We've had an opportunity when we play together. There's always a friend lurking within arm's reach with an instrument. So a neat thing about working as a duo or a solo is you have a lot of freedom to grab that string musician that you're friends with who just came through the door. And that creates a lot of sort of unique moments, which is fun. So when we do play, if anyone else to come out to play, it's more than likely that we'll have a couple of guests on playing with us. You just never know who that will be. And
absolutely.
The other thing, which is a little more broad, and it's kind of a bonus of being a solo musician or being in a small duo, is to be a little more, you have a little closer connection with the audience, and you get to be yourself a little more than being in a bigger ensemble. And so you come out and see us, Josh will always have a different hat or bolo tie, so you get to indulge a little bit in the visual creativity. And you get to experiment with who you want to be and how you want to sound that note. And it's not always the same day to day. So that's kind of a cool thing too, to have that freedom. And I'm just always looking to plug Josh's bolo ties.
Yes, I've become a recent collector, so I think 50% of the performing is presentation. I can't help it. I think there's a fun act you get to play when you play as a musician sometimes that is super fun. But I would say that, yeah, as we step into this and as we plug, it's amazing how many people have been instrumental and supportive. Friends like Derek Dames Old and people like that are out there really plotting the course for like what it looks like to be a solo, actually out there making it happen with their own music that they believe in. And people like that are giving you support and telling you that, yeah, man, keep doing it. It's good. You're writing good songs. That means the world to people like us that are, playing in bands, busy, got families, got jobs, got all this other stuff. So I don't know that I would be taking this on without a network like that. Both Brandy, El Michelle from El Michelle's Grateful Holler, etc. All those people are there saying, even though they're like busy and out there doing so much stuff, they're taking care of people, leaning in and saying, yeah, you guys are doing good stuff. We want to help you out. So I want to first of all say, like, that's huge, the fact that we have such a healthy community that tries to lean in and help people. And then two, it's a journey. This is just the start. My hope is that we can kind of keep doing these things, keep finding our voices, keep doing what we want to do, tell the stories we want to tell. I mean, that just keeps continuing. We keep having new collaborations, new opportunities. Matthew and I love playing music together, but I fully anticipate being on the rail as Matthew opens for other people, as a solo. And it's not an Earle and Ray show. It's Matthew Earle opening for X amazing country singer. Those are the dreams I hope to have. And
did you just say Brooks and Dunn?
Yeah, that's what I hope for. I mean, I'm putting it on my bucket list for you, bro. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's about loving the people that you working with. And that's really what's the most important to me and where I'm at in life. I love the songs I'm writing. I feel really proud about them. And I love being able to share that with people that want to get out there and write good music. They want to share good music in cool environments. Whether that's us together, us with other people, opening for other people. I mean, I think that myriad of opportunities is what makes it work. So for me, that's my biggest hope, is continuing to do this as long as I can.
In that case, I think those are all the big questions I have on my end.
Absolutely. We really appreciate the time that you've given us and appreciate the coverage. And we really hope to see everybody out there. It's going to be a fun night.
And in general, the work you do and your whole team, keeping your ear to the ground for music up in the mountains, smaller communities.
Yeah.
That's where we've gotten so much of our traction over the years. And to know that there's really taking time for those communities and new music and events, it's great. So thanks for reaching out to us.
Perfect example of that community, making it all work. Right? It takes everybody caring about what we're all doing, and y'all are definitely a part of that.
Thank you so much, Matthew and Joshua, for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. Of course, I can no longer promote the Gold Hill General Store show because it is over, but if you want to learn more about Matthew and Joshua as musicians, then you can head to Matthew's website, MatthewEarleMusic.com, or follow both of the musicians on Instagram, at Matthew Earle Music and at joshua.brant.ray. I previously interviewed Brandy Ray for Brandy Wine and the Mighty Finds, so be sure to check out her podcast interview in the Mountaineer Podcast or head to the Mighty Finds website at themightyfinds.com to learn more about that group as well. Thank you so much for coming on board and joining us for this episode of Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. Hopefully, in June and July, I'll be able to get a more consistent schedule going with Mountaineer Podcast episodes, and hopefully in June, I'll be able to bring you more mountain folktale stories. In the meantime, if you want to share this episode or others around with whoever you see fit, then be sure to head to the mtnear.com and scroll near to the bottom, or head to our podcast's main hub at the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com to see a full archive of all of our episodes. If you're interested in getting involved in the podcast or in the paper in any way, shape, or form, then email info@themountaineer.com and or media@themountaineer.com and we'll get something sorted for you. And finally, be sure to head to our individual podcast episode descriptions for all of our most important links. Our main website, our Facebook, our Instagram, our YouTube, and now the form where you can submit all of your events for promotion in our Cracker Barrel. And if you want to send us feedback for the podcast or paper, then send us a text through any individual description of the Mountaineer Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. All right, this will be the last episode for May, so I will see you guys in June. Have a great rest of your day.
Well, it's one more beer and a shot of dark liquor will have me singing my songs dirty quicker. That's not what you came to hear. Well, pick it fast.
The song that you are currently listening to is called Good Livin'. It's a song from Brandy Wine and the Mighty Finds, and it's out wherever you get your music. To learn more about Brandy Wine and the Mighty Finds as a group, be sure to head to their website at themightyfinds.com. Joshua Ray and Matthew Earle will be performing in a duo capacity and as their own solo acts more in the very near future. So be sure to head to Matthew's website, MatthewEarleMusic.com, or follow one or both of the musicians on Instagram at Matthew Earle Music or at joshua.grant.ray to keep an eye on when they'll be performing next.
I got a gal and she's playing first fiddle. She calling them songs and standing in the middle. I'm glad she still smiles at me, because it's one more song, it's one more show, one more week and we can blow good living.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak-to-Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.